Barrett White, because this one hit me hard. It'll be 4 years in December when I heard this exact sentence. And since then, I've not told one lie, even if the truth has made me look bad. And it was, in a world full of liars, the truth is a declaration of war. And I cannot tell you, obviously that resonated really hard with me, because from that day forward, I've never told a lie. And it's interesting when you walk and live in this truth, because you tend to alienate a lot of people. But the people you alienate are the people that are just absolutely blinded and insecure around your truth.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast. Cool, man. So the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk with Alex Ramirez, right? So, like my podcast, man, the purpose of my podcast is to, educate and teach married entrepreneurs with kids, right? Like entrepreneurs with a wife, with kids that are trying to run a business, on like those secrets, tactics, strategies, mindsets, skill sets that are required to become a gentleman, right? And a gentleman is like a four-dimensional man committed to achieving true freedom and committed to having it all. True freedom meaning physical freedom, emotional freedom, sentimental freedom, wife and kids, and financial freedom. So I call them freedoms. I know that you have the family, fitness, focus, finance, right? The four pillars. I call them four freedoms, right? So physical freedom,
Nice.
about building and optimizing body and mind with excellence. Emotional freedom is about like knowing yourself, mastering yourself, right? Knowing who you are and your purpose. And a sentimental freedom is about being an excellent husband and father, right? And then financial freedom is about dominating in business, right? So those four freedoms lead to true freedom, and that leads to success, happiness, and fulfillment, right? And the way that you can achieve that is by becoming a gentleman, right? So that's what this is about having it all, right? So, like the reason that I'm doing this, so I'm currently coaching married entrepreneurs with kids to grow their businesses without sacrificing time, health, and family. That is my message. And the way that I do that is by helping them become gentlemen. And like the reason that I ended up here is because so I'm Mexican, right? And I grew up in like a border town, right? So I lived in Mexico, but went to school in the US, would cross back and forth. And at 16, I got sucked into my environment, became a drug addict, became an alcoholic, did all kinds of drugs from 16 to 18, right? And then at 18, I got my wife pregnant. She's now my wife, and I didn't abandon my family, right? So I got my wife pregnant. My daughter was born at 5.5 months of gestation because we tried to abort her, right? So like at 18, like I got my girlfriend pregnant. I didn't know what to do. And me and my girlfriend decided to go with what seemed to be the easiest and fastest route, which was abortion. And she took some pills, like 40 some pills. She was in pain and she bled and everything. So it worked, right? 1 month went by, she got her period. Another month went by and she didn't get her period. And we were like, shit, you're pregnant again, right? So it was the same pregnancy. The first time, the first abortion attempt hadn't worked. So we did it again. She took more pills. She was in pain. She bled and stuff. And, it worked, but it didn't, man. Right. So 1 month went by and we graduated from high school. She was like wearing a tight dress. She didn't look pregnant. She didn't feel pregnant. We didn't even know that she was pregnant because we thought our attempts had worked. Right. And all of a sudden I went from being that 18-year-old drug addict, lost with no purpose, no direction, no goals, no vision. And I became the father of a premature baby that was born at 5.5 months of gestation. Right before that happened, I didn't believe in God or anything. I was lost. And man, like my baby's healthy. She's alive. She's with me. And she got me back on track. Right at the time, I thought that that had been the worst thing that ever happened to me. But it turns out that it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I started a business in insurance. Everything went really well, right? And then instead of selling insurance for $50 per month, a policy for $50 per month, I started a digital marketing agency, helping insurance agencies generate leads. And then, that went really well as well. And then now I'm coaching, right? But the thing here, like I decided to step into my purpose, right? Into coaching men. And the reason for that is because when I was like 14 years of age, my dad, who fucked up his life, right? He was a drug addict and alcoholic as well. He has 7 different families, like 7 different kids with 7 different women, all broken families. I was the first one. I'm the oldest one. And like after having fucked up his life, he gave me some advice, right? He told me, you want to be successful, happy, and fulfilled. And this was when I was like 14 years of age. He told me that you needed to become a gentleman. And the way to do that was to become a gentleman and achieve true freedom. Work on yourself physically first, right? Build and optimize your body and mind, and take care of yourself. Take care of your machine, right? Your body, you're stuck with it like for the rest of your life. Learn how to love yourself. That is the first thing that you got to do. Then prioritize yourself again by working on yourself emotionally and spiritually, by getting connected to who you are, by not only finding out who you are and what are your strengths and weaknesses, but also creating your identity and getting yourself a purpose and a vision and a mission. And then once you do that, you're gonna become unstoppable, right? You achieve self mastery, and financial freedom is gonna be easy. So now you've spent the last 10 years doing this. So now you're 35 years of age. You're young, 30, 35, whatever. You are in a great shape. You're full of energy and vitality.
How old are you right
drive.
now?
You will 20.
20?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Good shit, brother. I'm listening. Keep going.
And you are in charge of you know who you are. So you have self mastery. You have built an empire in the last 10 years, right? So now you can give yourself the ability, the chance to fool around, to taste a little bit, and find the woman that you're gonna spend the rest of your life with, right? Um, so and then keep on growing your empire with. That would be the perfect way to become a gentleman, achieve true freedom, and have success, happiness, and fulfillment. But what happens? What happens is that most men fuck up, right? Just like me. Like at 18 years of age, I didn't have no business. Like I didn't even know how to take care of myself. I didn't love myself. How could I love a wife or a kid that I tried to kill? At 18 years of age, I didn't have a purpose, didn't have goals, didn't have a vision, didn't nothing, right? Like I'm completely different. I didn't even know how to speak English 2 years ago, man. Right? That's
Fuck
how
yeah.
hard I've been working on myself.
Good for you.
And so yeah, right. And then at 18 years of age, I didn't know how to be a husband and a father, and let alone I didn't know how to love myself, let alone like a wife and a kid. And I didn't know how to make money. Right. So like, man, I fucked up. So like I still want to become a gentleman. I still have that ambition. So now what do I do? Right. And like this is what I'm helping men do. And the way that you fix it is by prioritizing yourself physically, prioritizing yourself emotionally and spiritually. But then these two changes. Instead of going for your financial freedom and then sentimental, you got to prioritize your sentimental freedom first and then your financial, because you don't have business problems. You have personal problems reflecting in your business, and that's
Correct.
what most men don't get,
Yep.
right? And this is my message. I've decided to step into my purpose. I came across you. I'm connected with Cody, and Eric J. White is a big influence in my life. And
Sounds like it. Yeah.
came across you and your and what you're doing, and I was like, shit, like Cody has accepted to be on my podcast as well. And and then that's why I wanted I believe, from seeing what you got going on, it seems like you're a gentleman and could provide lots of value to married entrepreneurs with kids who are trying to figure out how to achieve true freedom and be able to have it all.
Yeah, I absolutely love your story. And yeah, Garrett J. White was an influence on me. His number two for a long time has been my mentor for 4 years. And so I've been to a lot of their events, and I've been quote unquote working side by side with somebody. And then I finally launched my own thing. I've been doing this, what similar to what you got going on, for about indirectly for 10 years, but very directly for 3 years. And then I said, all right, I'm going to start my own movement. And that's kind of where I'm at. So, but yeah, similar story, similar concepts there. I mean, not similar story 100%. You have a very, very compelling life story, and you're only 20, right?
Yeah, man. So everything has happened in the last 2 years. Like everything has been really going really good in the last 2 years. I've completely evolved and changed who I am. And it's been a crazy, very fast ride, man. So yeah, I'm only 20.
So real quick, what's the SHF stand for right now?
Success, happiness, and fulfillment.
Okay, cool. Nice. Yeah. So right now there's a bit of
Um,
a delay. When we talk, I don't know if you're getting it from me, so I don't know if that's going to affect the podcast recording on your end, but I don't know if we need to. I just hopped off of Zoom. I live on Zooms all day, so I don't know if it's my side or your side, but are you seeing a delay?
I'm not seeing a delay from my side.
Okay. It's not a huge deal. It's when you talk, I basically see your whole sentence and then I hear your audio about right afterwards. Um,
Oh,
which is not
let me
huge, but
see
if it takes me a second to respond to you during the podcast, I don't want to mess up any flow. So
okay. I don't know what I mean. Everything seems to be good on my side, so I don't know. But thank you for letting me know. I'll fix it. Maybe if it's me, I'll look into it later. Since it's not a huge deal. But man, yeah. So like, I'll go ahead and make my introduction. Um, like we'll have a conversation, ask you some questions, simple conversation, simple questions. At the end, we close with 5 questions that I ask all my guests, and pretty simple.
yeah,
Awesome, brother. And yeah, I'm starting the modern gentleman world movement, man. That's my thing. Right?
I
Like
love it. I
becoming a
love it.
gentleman.
You sound crystal
I'm
clear on that.
doing what my dad.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Um, yeah. So yeah, man. I'm excited to get into this. So yeah, let's get started. Oh, it's already recording. So um, I'll just start making the introduction. Okay.
No problem.
So 1, 2, 3. Hello, beautiful people. So, as always, I'm very excited to be here with you with another episode of the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk with Alex Ramirez. Today, I have a very incredible gentleman that has it has very interesting stuff to talk about. He has been influenced by some of the people that I've been influenced. One of those is Garrett J. White, and I'm very excited to dig deep into his story, into what he's all about, and just talk, and find out how he has been able to conquer himself, his life, his marriage, and his business. So before I actually introduce him, I just want to really quick give a big shout out to all of you guys who have been leaving comments and reviews on the major podcasting platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, and to those who have been watching on YouTube as well. Thank you very much. And I just want to ask you to, if you like this episode, if you get a lot of value from it, please share it with one person. And this is how we grow. This is how we spread our message. This is how we motivate, inspire, and bless other people. So 99% of you probably won't do that, but the 1% of you who do are the ones who make all the difference. So
Absolutely.
to you, I say thank you. All right. And today, very excited. I have Nick Alfano, and he's a husband, he's a father, he's an entrepreneur. He takes men from having 6-figure profits in their business to stepping into their 7-figure purpose. Right. So he's founder of the program, as you can see, in which the program is an elite group of men helping each other level up in every area of their life, including family, fitness, focus, and finance, which is the reason why I'm very excited to talk to this gentleman, because he calls them family, fitness, focus, and finance, right? I call them freedoms. We're very aligned, we're very similar, and it's going to be amazing. I'm very excited. So welcome, Nick. Thank you very much for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
And so the first thing that I like to do with my guests, as soon as they, as soon as I have them, is put them on the line and tell them to tell us about your story, right? Like a little bit about you and your business journey in 60 seconds or less.
Woo.
Go ahead.
Ready, set, go. We call this be brief, be bold, be gone. So yeah, just turned 40. My business background, I was a serial entrepreneur for a long time. I had a lot of time in the fitness space. Corporate America, I worked for LA Fitness and for Sprint as a district manager. Put myself through law school because someone said that was the thing to do to get something more stable. Realized I absolutely hated that. All throughout law school, I was a serial entrepreneur. My most recognizable source of income, or what people know me from, is I was in the accounts receivable space, which is essentially debt collecting. Built out 23 locations across the nation, was making tons of money as an attorney / entrepreneur, and woke up one day and realized that everything I was doing lacked integrity. And although I was financially sound, I was morally bankrupt, and I literally burnt it all to the ground. And so Yeah, I mean, I've been through it. I've been with the same girl for 23 years. It'll be 23 years in October. We have three kids of our own, and then we also adopted a boy 4 years ago. And essentially, when you're with the same girl for 23 years, you definitely put her through some things. So yeah, there was a lot there where I've used the excuse that I've got this finance F figured out, and that therefore allows me to do whatever I want in the other three areas, including disrespect my wife and kids daily. And there was a 3 year period where I left her and I was basically sleeping with random girls off Instagram, you name it. And I woke up one day and again, tons of money in the bank, but I just felt completely empty on every level. And I went through an experience in personal development. I'm about 4 years into that now. And since then, I've just been helping men kind of realize that we're all, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on this, but we're all shitheads. And we need to find a way to clean up the other areas of our life, and then the money will come. And I just had it completely backwards, which most men do. So.
All right. So helping men become gentlemen. Man, well, first of all, you do look great. You know, I've been seeing a couple of stuff, on your Facebook and stuff. And man, 40, you look like maybe 30, right? And like in a really good shape. So that's awesome, man. So props to you. And like shit, you burnt everything down 2 times.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. So there's a art of war. Sun Tzu will tell you there's a thing called death ground. And the concept is he would drop his soldiers off, or in the book, they drop the soldiers off and they leave the boats. They just leave them. And then if your back's against water, you have no choice. You're now standing on death ground. You either fight or die. And I really just decided that I wanted to take the island, and my island was going to be helping men. And I kind of leaned into it off and on for 3 years. And the problem was I still had 2 boats in the water that I could always swim back to in the form of my law firm and then the debt collection. And those boats served me financially, but were completely empty from an integrity standpoint. And so I just said, you know what? I'm done with those 2 things. I want nothing to do with them. I closed down the law firm. I walked away from collections. And I can tell you, I walked away from, well over $100,000 a month in pretty easy income. And I went all in on helping men. And it was definitely a rough conversation to have with the wife and kids. I think as dads, we don't want to ever take the superhero cape off. And we always want to appear to our children, especially, that we have everything figured out and don't worry about money and Christmas will be fine and whatever you need, dad will figure it out. And so it was very difficult when they've seen me be so quote unquote financially successful to say, hey, I'm gonna make this massive transition, and it's gonna sting a little bit on this F, the finance F. But they'll tell you right now, and I've got letters from like my daughter in college and tons of stuff from my wife, and it's really just, it's crazy how they could care less about the things, man. They really could. That's one thing I'd love to tell your audience right now. They're trying to become gentlemen, that you can't buy love. You can't buy your children's affection. And when I started getting better in the other F's in terms of communicating with my children, being just a better role model in terms of what does a husband look like, everything changed in my family life, which only translated to more success in the financial F. So it's just, everyone's got it backwards. I know you know that, but it's important that they understand that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Sounds like Cody Jefferson. He's really, him really well, and I know really him. Well. Yep. I saw a video of him on Instagram in which he said, like, you're conditioned to, like, tell your kids, oh, like, I'm doing all of this for you. Like, this money is for you. It's to benefit you. But like, in reality, what they want is just to take them to the baseball game or spend time with them, or, like, that's what matters most to them. And it sounds like you left your 6-figure per month, profit to step into your 7-figure purpose, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit more about that journey, like into about stepping into your purpose of helping men, improve all the areas of their life, family, fitness, focus, and finance?
Yes. So I'll actually drop a line from Garrett White, because this one hit me hard. It'll be 4 years in December when I heard this exact sentence. And since then, I've not told one lie, even if the truth has made me look bad. And it was, in a world full of liars, the truth is a declaration of war. And I cannot tell you, obviously that resonated really hard with me, because from that day forward, I've never told a lie. And it's interesting when you walk and live in this truth, because you tend to alienate a lot of people. But But the people you alienate are the people that are just absolutely blinded and insecure around your truth. And it's usually because they're starting to confront their own lies internally. And so, I lost quote unquote friends. My bar card was threatened before I decided to walk away from it, because I basically admitted to some things I did as an attorney. One of the reasons I walked away as an attorney, and I'll argue this to the death. Any attorney wants to jump on the phone with me. All lawyers are liars. Like, realistically, all quote unquote successful attorneys either bend the truth, manipulate the truth, flat out tell lies in court, hide the truth. Like, the most commonly used phrase in the lawyer world is, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. So these guys are walking around knowing that their client did X, Y, and Z, or knowing that the contract states this or what have you. And it's really about like covering up as much as possible so it doesn't make it to the courtroom. And that's like disgusting to me. And so once I started positioning my life around this one word truth, I realized like, this is not like, I literally cannot help another person, because what they deem as successful in terms of winning their case is going to require some form of compromise of my integrity. And I had to walk away. When you talk about like, I had this moment with my middle daughter, and I was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and I was somehow on some sort of rant about like you said, how much we do for them. And I'm doing this all for you. And I made all this money so I could put you to the right college and get you the things. And she said, Dad, every time we talk, it seems to be circled around money and how quote unquote successful you are, but are you happy? And I literally like if I think about it now, I'll start crying. So like, it was just crazy. Like if you really listen to your kids, like, they have a lot figured out, and they haven't even been on this earth half our time. And like, it floored me. And it was just massive, massive shift. And you never know when those moments are going to happen. From Garrett J. White saying that on stage at WarriorCon 3 to my daughter just hitting me. Like, I can remember what I was wearing. We were standing next to my kitchen island. I was making some food and on some sort of rant about them not doing their chores and Dad making all this money and they could at least do their part. And it floored me. And I started down this road from like impact over income has probably been one of my bigger mission statements over the last 3 years. And then more importantly, I've been on this road from what I call success to significant. And it's really like all I want to do. And I know it sounds kind of like a martyr. It's like, how many lives can I touch before I leave this place? I mean, that's it. Money's whatever. I took a massive hit when I made this transition, and I'm the happiest I've ever been, hands down. So, yeah.
Cool. That's amazing, man. In a world of liars, the truth is a declaration of war.
Yep.
Yeah. So you were making, lots of money and everything, but you felt unfulfilled and you didn't feel happy, and you feel like every time you lied, you were destroying not only yourself, but also like the person that you were quote unquote helping, right? And yeah, man. So now you're prioritizing impact over profits, right? You're prioritizing like, did I matter, like significance over success, which is amazing. And I'm very inspired by that, because that's like my mission too. Like, I want to help men and I want to inspire men, and help them become a gentleman so that they can have success, happiness, and fulfillment, right? Which a lot of people look successful, but they're totally broken. They're totally unhappy and unfulfilled, right? Which seems something that is very important for you. So like, I have a question, man. I talked about before getting, the podcast started, I told you how there's 2 ways of becoming a gentleman, right? The right way, like the perfect way of becoming a gentleman, doing things right from the beginning, or like fucking up and then having to become a gentleman and like fix things. So like, I'm curious, so when was it that you had children and that you became a husband and a father? Was that before becoming financially free and everything, or after? So like, I'm just curious to like know
Sure.
and find out how you became a gentleman.
Yeah. So, it was basically kids having kids. My wife and I had our first child when I was 21, she was 20. I was away at college. It's a bit of a backstory there. Like, I've got a crazy family life, and I was homeless from 14 to 18, and got emancipated, which is where you divorce your parents. And I basically just did that to get money for college, because they were non-existent in my life. And I lived out of a backpack for a long time on different people's couches and some park benches, some other madness. But long story short, I've been with my wife since junior year in high school. We've known each other since 6th grade. And we quickly ended up living together, probably earlier than most people should. And it was out of necessity. It was literally like, Nick doesn't have a place to live. So what does it look like if, we just split the bills and start doing this? So that led to literally having kids way too young. So the financial independence was nowhere near where it should be. I would say it took me 6-7 years and all 3 kids to figure out some sort of normalcy or stability financially. But I really think I know there's a perfect way to be a gentleman, but I honestly believe like a lot of who we are is a result of our experiences, and we choose to either go through them or grow through them. And that's the reality. And so for me, like everything I've ever been through is exactly why I'm sitting on this podcast with you today. And everything I've heard about your story is exactly why you feel called to help other people so they don't have to go through what we went through. But part of me thinks, a lot of people should go through some things. And again, if they can grow through it, it's really what separates, the gentleman. So, but as far as having money prior to kids, no way, no way.
Awesome, man. So that's crazy. That I didn't know that, and this is why I love like having a podcast and having these conversations with men like you, because I know you better than I would ever be able to know you if like I don't know, we were friends or whatever, and it's just like in a podcast in an hour. So
Sure.
and I'm really grateful and thank you very much for sharing. So like what I wanted to say now is, let's see. Wait, I lost my train of thought. But what I wanted to say was to talk a little bit more about like family, fitness, focus, and finance. Like, and like, what do those mean to you?
Yeah. So fitness, like, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of my guys on my team, and then like, I'm not a huge social media guy, so there's not a lot on me, but yeah, I used to be in the fitness world and the bodybuilding world. Like it couldn't be further from what I define fitness as today. Like it's not about being jacked, bro, or having abs, or it's nothing to do with that. It's really like I think we talked about it earlier. You have one vessel, like you have one body to carry you through this life. And how are you showing up for that? Like you can't put crap gas in a Ferrari and expect it to go. Like, why would you not want to build a Ferrari? So realistically, it's about weaponizing your body. It's about getting up every day and just proper nutrition, getting some form of movement in. But I think everyone has a bit of a definition of what they deem as like quote unquote in shape. The problem is most guys just aren't giving themselves enough of that attention. And so that's like for fitness for me is really just like feeding the body, moving the body, and making sure it's weaponized for whatever my day looks like. And if I've got 12 hours of meetings, or if I need to show up and close a big deal and it requires I feel good about myself and wear the right power suit or what have you, like that's my definition of fitness is really just, it's more of how you feel and how you function. As far as focus, like I think that one of the biggest pivots that most men are frightened to do is really look within. Society has, for the most part, most men are like trying to meet the subjective standard of like the industrial man, which is, don't talk about your feelings. Don't you dare cry. You're not allowed to be emotional. That's some sissy stuff. When the reality is empathy is literally like your strongest weapon when you learn how to use it. And so a lot of people have the ability to communicate, especially when I deal with a lot of salesmen and people that are entrepreneurs, but very few have the ability to truly connect. And I think the differentiating factor there is the ability to show and actually have empathy for another human being. And so in the focus area, it's really about figuring out who you are and how you connect with other people. And a lot of that is through, meditation, journaling daily. Like you'd be surprised what you can puke up into a journal with a pen. And this isn't a notebook on your phone, or this isn't an app. This is literally pen to paper. Like there's science behind taking things from your head to your hand to a notebook. And you'd be surprised what you write down. You'll find sometimes you're often extremely hard on yourself or hypercritical. Sometimes you have excellent ideas. Like some of the best, like most of my guys' next 7-figure ideas sitting right in their journal, but they have to use it and they have to, so if you go from a meditative state, most of our genius is in our subconscious and we don't realize that. And so the more you can start to unlock the subconscious and then get that to flow onto paper and see and organize that, I think that's literally the most important F. Family. I mean, most guys just flat out don't show up. And if they do show up, it's with zero intention. And so we're just really big on making sure that you're intentional. it's, how many guys are doing date nights with their wife? How many guys are treating their wife on that date night as though it's the very first night they went out with her? When you're still courting your wife, like you said, that's extremely important in terms of being a gentleman. Like most guys expect sex from their wife because it's their wife. Most guys expect that their wife should be attracted to them or should cater to them. But what deposits are you making in her? Like I tell my guys all the time, if your wife's thinking about sleeping with you, she's already made that decision three days prior. Like none of us are that smooth. We don't have some sweet suavemente tongue, or dance moves or pickup line. Like literally your wife has decided she's going to sleep with you because of the way you took out the trash without being asked, because of the way you were showing up for your children when they needed you, or you're intentionally reading a book or playing with your child. Like that's the moment when she was really attracted to you, spiritually and physically. And so the other part of family for us is just relationships in general. Like friends are the family that we choose. And so how are you showing up for people in your circle? What does your circle look like? So those are the three major ones that we focus on. Like we literally put finance last for a reason. I've built a lot of businesses. I've created quite a few millionaires in a pretty short period of time, but I hope everybody makes $1 million, man, because like when you get there, if you don't have, like you said, fulfillment, like what's the point, And it's like most people get there and they feel so empty. And so I try to show them how to get there with purpose. Otherwise it's this build and burn cycle, which is a Garrett J. White concept too. But it's like a lot of guys will get to the mountaintop, but if you got there with no integrity, or if your core values aren't in alignment with how you got there, it's a matter of time before you burn it. It's easy come, easy go. And so like the best thing you can do is learn how to build and get to that mountaintop with purpose, with intention, with concepts like impact over income. Because if you can get there with purpose, it's infinitely sustainable and then exponential, like 7 to 8. So the jump from 7 to 8 figures is nowhere near as scary as 6 to 7. It's just not. I've been living in that world, So like, and not trying to sound cool. I'm just saying like I'm in a group of other entrepreneurs where everyone's a 7-figure guy. There's some 8-figure guys. We've got some little billionaires that we go to lunch with, and they're just normal dudes. And they'll tell you like the jump from 7 to 8, 8 to 9, it's almost laughable because then you figured it out. You've got systems, you're scaling. Like it's really just like, how wide do I want to cast this net? And the 6 to 7 is where 90% of people can't figure out. And the whole tagline about purpose is literally like my company is not a self-development company, and we don't run masterminds. Like we literally are an investment firm. Like we invest in people that invest in themselves. And I won't invest $1 into your business unless we structure it in a way where you're making an impact on this planet Earth. Like if you don't carve out at least 3% of your gross to another organization that's bigger than you, then I won't even give you $1. We just won't do it. And so we show guys how to do that. We show guys how to take their business from 6 to 7, but oh, by the way, attach yourself to something that's 10 times bigger than you'll ever be, and just see what that feels like to actually start using your money to make a dent in this world. And so like we've got some strict rules on who we invest in and how we invest, but it's all centered around figuring out who you are and then figuring out how you can help this planet before you leave. So
That's amazing, man. It just amazes me how like we're so aligned, right? Like fitness, physical freedom, building and optimizing body and mind so that you can perform with, at elite levels. And a quick thing that I wanted to add, like I had to go through at 70 years of age, like using SARMs. I don't know if you are familiar with SARMs,
Very
like
familiar.
the kind of steroid, and destroying my body and having pain in my liver, and at night not being able to sleep because my heart was like beating really fast and hard. Like I had to go through that to know that what I really wanted was not to be like really jacked and stuff, but what I really wanted was health and vitality and to live long, right? Emotional freedom, right? About knowing who you are, about mastering who you are and having a purpose. Sentimental freedom, about being a respectful, humble, intelligent, wise, loving and caring husband and father. Financial freedom, about dominating in business. And for me, financial freedom comes at the end, right? Because like you don't have business problems, you have personal problems reflecting in your business, and you first have to take care of these 3 before you can even ever make it big in this one. So
100%.
what do you think about that?
Yeah. So we have a similar concept where, you don't have business problems. You have yourself, so you have people and their problems. You have you and your problems. So I think most guys, if they really sit and think, especially entrepreneurs, like when you're having this massive blowout with the wife and you try to show up and be intentional at work, it doesn't happen. And then what does that look like? What is the
Mhm.
actual time from fight to makeup? Is it 3 days? Because there's 3 days of no productivity, right? And so like, how can we course correct and close that gap? And then how can we start preventing the fight from even happening, so on and so forth. And so um, I think one of the biggest ones that I see, and we do an exercise with our men, and what comes up a lot is this feeling of unworthy or imposter syndrome. And what that really is you're just out of alignment with who you are because you haven't quite figured it out. And so you're waking up every day and you're doing things that you feel are moving the needle for the business, but you're not really showing up the way you know you should, because it doesn't really line up with what you ultimately want to do for this world, and the impact you want to create. And so I just think it couldn't be truer that if you don't get yourself completely dialed in on the other areas, like a lot of people get there on accident, or they get there with a massive, like what I call shortcuts or lack of integrity. But I can literally point out probably 150 people that have gotten there. And again, if their core values, if they don't, first of all, most people don't even know what they are. Most people haven't established a core value system for themselves or their family. And they really don't have one for their business, and they should be almost identical. And so if you get to this mountaintop or whatever KPI you set for yourself, oh, when the business does X, we made it, we've arrived. And if you get there and you haven't really established any sort of core values, like it's just a matter of time before it just disappears. And so a lot of guys that I work with, especially if they're into their 40s and they've been an entrepreneur, they've had this whole like build and burn cycle, and build and burn, because even if they're self-sabotaging, and most of it's subconscious, it's literally the universe telling them like, look, you got here, but either you did it the wrong way, or this is not really where you need to be. So I'm going to take it all away, and you're going to start again, and you're going to start again until you learn how to do it the right way. And so we're trying to collapse time for these men and show them, look, the 7-figure thing, throw it out the window. It's not about that. We're going to do all of these things. And then you're going to wake up one day and say, oh shit, Nick, I made 7 figures. And oh, by the way, I feel amazing. Like that's the difference. It's not show me the money. So we have this saying where we show them what they want, but then we give them what they need. And unfortunately, in the world we live in, like our marketing tagline, it's obviously like the way we structure the quote unquote content is to get people through the door. And so everyone that walks in, like literally wants to talk about business, money. And then we quickly just say, hey man, how's a relationship with your wife? Like, how often do you guys having sex? And they're like, what, who are you? And so it's just interesting because that's a direct correlation to your bank, and you don't even know it yet. And I'm going to show you how. And yeah, it's just like, we have an exercise we do where I give them all a 50K check. And I said, go, you got 5 minutes to tell me how you're going to spend this. Right. And every single one of them, like last time we did this, it wasn't even a 99%. It was 100% was nowhere near on themselves in terms of like, oh, ad spend. Oh, one guy's going to pay off his house. And that's fine. Trust me. A lot of these things were excellent ideas, but 99% of these guys, it's all about putting money into their business to make more money. Not one human being said, I'm going to invest in myself. Right. Your number one asset, you. And it's just interesting because the pivot, like it has to start happening. It's if you pulled 10 millionaires right now and say, hey, how much do you spend on yourself in a year? Like we've done it. It's on average, it's about 10% of their income goes into some sort of personal development, whether involved in masterminds or they have a subconscious mind coach or a personal trainer. Like in some area, they're trying to level up those 4 F's. And it's not about like, how much did I spend on ad spend? Right. It's literally how much did I spend on myself, on my body, on my everything. So it's interesting. It's definitely interesting to see people kind of have that moment of like, holy shit. You know what I mean? But
Man, this is amazing. I like, this is why I love these conversations, because I get to talk with men who are very far ahead of me, like in terms of journey, and I get to like put a big mirror in front of me and get to see like the good things that I have, but also get to see the things that I need to work on and develop, right? So one of the keys for my growth in the past 2 years, right? Like 2 years, like one of the things is 2 years ago, I didn't know how to speak English, right? Just that thing alone is a big accomplishment. And the reason for that is because in the last 2 years, since I was 18 and I fucked up my life to like now getting it together and growing it, is because I've invested over 130K in myself, right? And I actually have a rule. Like I don't care about wearing, like crazy stuff, or I care about me, like about investing in myself. And I actually have a rule. And so I think like that if you give me a $50,000 check, and if you ask me, I would be able to like respond what I would do that, man. But another thing that I want to talk about is you're totally right on the core values, right? And like I want to share them with you. Like I want to share mine with you.
Sure.
And I have the first three are respect, humility, and wisdom, right? Because when you're respectful, you are like automatically humble, and being respectful and humble make you a wise person. Because when you're respectful and humble, you listen instead of right wanting to talk, and you listen to understand instead of listening to or hearing to respond. And you think, and well, and I'd rather be wise than intelligent, honestly, right? So respect, humility, and wisdom are huge for me. Then the fourth one is excellence. Like I always strive for excellence in every area of my life, physically, emotionally, spiritually, sentimentally, and financially. Right? Excellence. Having excellence in my life is huge. The next three are like my purpose and what I'm here on this earth for, and what I want to do, and my purpose, right? Which is motivate, inspire, bless. And like I want to motivate, inspire, and bless people. But you can motivate if you're jacked, right? Like you're a motivation because you're jacked, but you're not going to inspire if you are like an asshole. Like and you're like, I'm jacked and you're fat, or I'm rich and you're poor, right? Like being an asshole doesn't inspire anyone. So in order for you to motivate, inspire, and bless, you got to do it from respect, humility, wisdom, with love and appreciation, right? And that way you motivate, you inspire, you get people to move, and you bless them because you change their lives, right? So those are the next three. The next three are committed, learner, gentleman, and gratitude, right? So committed, like I've learned that there's a very huge difference between interest and being committed, right? I've learned that like in business, you gotta go all in. In marriage, you gotta go all in. With taking care of yourself, you gotta go all in. It's not whether you know you might do it or you're gonna think about it. No, like you gotta decide whether you want it or not, right? And like commitment is huge for me, which is like a mindset shift that I had to make in this past couple of years because like nobody talked about commitment in my life, and nobody talked about results. Like growing up, nobody told me that results were the only thing that mattered. So that has been a big shift that I had to make. Committed, learner, gentleman, learner because like I'm committed to learning, to being a compounding, accelerating, growing, evolving human being, and that's what defines a gentleman. Someone who is always growing, someone who is always expanding, someone who is committed to achieving true freedom, success, happiness, and fulfillment. And then gratitude all the way to the end because that's the one that's the most important for me because it has changed my life. Like whenever things are going bad, I instantly shift my mindset to being grateful. And man, like everything all of a sudden, like my perspective shifts from things are happening to me to like things are happening for me. And
For
how
me.
is this gonna make me grow? And how is this gonna make me better? And how is this going to make me evolve? And yeah, those are my core values. And I'm just so like excited because I don't want to build and burn, man. Like I don't want to build and burn and build and burn. Like like learning from people like you, learning from people like Garrett J. White in these last 2 years, developing myself and investing into myself has helped me understand that I don't want to build and burn. I just want to build and become a
That's it.
gentleman and become the best version of myself and achieve true freedom and make an impact in this world. Ah,
Bro, at 20 years old, you're light years ahead of any. I mean, I can tell you where about 30 of my close friends, which are all doing really well now and have figured this out, where we all were at 20. I mean, just to have the mindset that you have at 20 is definitely refreshing. It almost makes me like I don't know if excited is the right word, but it's definitely feels good to know that there's people your age that even think like this, if that makes sense. And so I absolutely love your story. Like if you're 2 years out from the hard times and this is what it looks like, and just doing what you're doing right now, you're collapsing time. Because if you can grab a little bit of wisdom from 400 podcasts, and then be able to concisely craft your message as a result of, and obviously, like you said, hold up a mirror and figure out, what do I like about what this guy's got going on? What do I not like? Like, let's learn from his crazy landmines and avoid them. But yeah, at 20 years old, man, that's extremely impressive. The fact that you even have core values at 20 years old. I mean, poll a million 20-year-olds and they won't even know what core value means. And that's the sad fact of it all. So, um, it'll be interesting, man. Are you coaching? Like, what does it look like right now? Do you have guys? Are they older? How do you find they respond to you at your age, or do they just say, "Man, this kid's got it"? What does that look like?
um, so yeah, I mean, it's going great. I'm helping some men. It's not, I'm not to the point like that I'm helping dozens and dozens,
Sure.
like every single month. It's going great. I did made more money with my digital marketing agency. Um, but man, I love what I do. And the fact that I'm 20 years old was just a mindset and was just a limiting belief, and it's not holding me back, and it won't hold me back. And I feel successful, happy, and fulfilled. And I'm just starting. I'm just getting started, and
You're
it's gonna
just
be
getting started.
amazing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm excited to watch your movement, man. And if I can help in any way, like add value, show up to something, talk to somebody, whatever it is, man. Like, it's all about people helping people. Like, I have a rule. Like, when you wake up in the morning, if you don't add value to one human being's life, without asking or expecting anything in return, just you're not allowed to put your head on the pillow. Like, period. And so, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like, but you have my, I'll give you, I think we talked on Facebook, but I'll give you my cell phone number when this is done. Like, anybody who's moving the needle towards impact over income, like, I'm all about, if I have it, you have it. If I've got the time, I'll help you. If I've got the resources, I'll help you. I'm excited for your journey, brother. This is awesome.
Thank you, man. So I wanted to talk a little bit more and dive a little bit deeper into what you said, which I didn't get. I didn't quite get. Which, like, your company is basically an investment company. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, like, I have an analogy that we use that probably makes it the easiest. Is essentially, think of like an F1 car, right? Like, let's say there's a racetrack out there and it's insanely difficult to navigate. And that would be like the entrepreneur lifestyle. And there might be hairpin turns, or there might be some turns where you have to slow down. There might be turns that require an injection of capital. There might be turns where you have to get some proprietary technology just to make it. And they ultimately have this finish line in sight, like whether it's sell their business, just put together a sustainable company that allows them to have passive income to support the lifestyle that they ultimately want. And there's a million versions of like the quote unquote finish line for these entrepreneurs. But the sad fact is, most of them are driving a Honda because they don't even really know what it is to own or build the car necessary to navigate the track. But the biggest thing about that is they haven't invested in themselves. And so if you put me in like Lewis Hamilton's F1 car and said, hit the track, I'm not even making it around turn 2. I'm just not. And so we're trying to show them that the driver is equally as important as the car. But where we come in as an investment firm is, my frustration with the marketplace currently is you can go to, and I'm not knocking these guys because they're geniuses in their own right, but like a Tony Robbins, and you can walk on coals and like get some goosebumps and good quotes, and you can leave with tremendous motivation. And that motivation will dissipate over 6-7 days. And so what we try to do is we try to keep these guys in the container, similar to like what they would feel from something like that. But it's not about just like getting them hyped up or excited about how they can grow their business, et cetera. It's literally giving them the tools. So if I say, Alex, in order to get from 6 to 7 figures, you're going to need this following amount of things. And you're like, that's cool, Nick. And I see all the work I've done on myself, and I'm so excited to go out there and attack these objectives, these action items. But wouldn't it be cooler if you just had all these things sitting right here? And as long as you believe in me and continue to vet me and continue to develop me as a human being, it's not about sending you out in the world and saying, figure it out, because now you've worked on yourself. It's about, you know what? Here's 50 grand. Here's 100 grand. Here's 500 grand. Here's a guy that can do your proprietary technology. Like, here is the actual tools to build the F1 to get you around turn 3 and 4, because you're going to commit to being Lewis Hamilton. So I'm going to commit to building that F1 car. We're going to build that F1 car together. And I think that's where a lot of these programs or whatever fall short, is they don't really help build the business, or they only focus on the business, right? And not the entrepreneur. So we go all in on the race car driver, but then we actually have every single thing you need to build the race car. So we're not saying, wouldn't it be awesome to have that F1 or that Ferrari to navigate these crazy turns and actually get to your objective, your finish line? It's not, wouldn't it be awesome? It's, we have that. Like, we literally have all of that. So we have access to a fund. We have access to proprietary technology out of Silicon Valley. Like, it's about actually furnishing you with the tools, as long as you're willing to do the work. And so there is no failure unless you just choose to not do the work. That's it. The only way you fail, if you step into this ecosystem, is not doing the work. You're not going to fail because we couldn't find the money. You're not going to fail because we couldn't develop the systems, the processes, the technology to scale you to where you want it to be, to get to this quote unquote finish line that you set for yourself. You're going to fail if you don't do the work. So we're just trying to mitigate any potential for failure, as long as it's the entrepreneur shows up, the driver learns the course. The driver has the wherewithal to navigate the hairpin, right? Emotionally, spiritually, physically, right? Like, if they are doing the work and they can navigate all the turns, we're going to provide them the vehicle to navigate all the turns, and then it's game over. So
That's amazing.
I probably beat that to death,
So
but
your program is the program then.
Yep.
Awesome, man. So we're almost running out of time, and I want to end up. I always close this podcast, these conversations, with asking my guests 5 questions. So can I go ahead and get started with the first one?
Sure.
The first one is, if you could travel back in time to when you were 18 years of age, right? So what advice would you give yourself?
That emotional intelligence, like your EQ, is 10 times more important than your IQ. And point being is, I was always pretty intelligent, got through school easy, whatever. And I really relied on that. I'm smarter. I could just figure it out. But I had the emotional intelligence of, I don't know what to tell you, but I was just all over the radar. And it took me till I was about 35 to start really learning emotional intelligence. And I think in today's marketplace, especially coming out of COVID and what everyone's dealing with, and mental issues surfacing, I think emotional intelligence, if I would have learned that at 18, I would have collapsed time tremendously.
100%, man. So is there any tips you want to give? I don't know, anyone like a married entrepreneur with kids who struggles emotionally, right? And finds himself not doing the things that he knows he should be doing. Like, what would you say to him?
Yeah, first and foremost, like, be open to the fact that 90% of your issues are right between your two ears. And it's kind of like, you need to get out of your head and get into your heart, if that makes sense, and start leaning into intuition. And there's a lot of guys like myself that are overly analytical. And so they have to know the science behind meditation and the science behind unlocking their subconscious and so on. And if you're that kind of guy, then go do the research. There's plenty of books out there, because a lot of it can come across as kind of like woo-woo, if that makes sense. Like, that's kind of weird hippie stuff. I don't want to get into that. And so if you're adverse to learning that concept because you think it's weird, then find another way to teach yourself that concept. And for me, it was like the science. There's actually books on like the biology of the brain and the science of meditation. And so once I learned like actually the neurotransmitters and the synapses that are firing in the subconscious, and how you actually start accessing the genius part of your brain as a result of journaling and meditating, then I was all in. But if no one ever explained it to me like that, I was very adverse to the concept of like, you want me to do what? You want me to sit here and close my eyes and sit Indian style and then write a bunch of stuff in a book? Like I would have slapped you. Like, that's just where I was in life. And to me, again, that was probably the biggest difference in how I've been able to navigate every sector of my life. So.
Amazing, man. Thank you. So the second one is, what is one mindset shift, one breakthrough that you made that you can share that made you level up in your life, marriage, and business?
That's easy, man. It's truth. Like on every level. And it's not even just like proactively telling the truth. It's being honest with who you are and where you are. Like, as guys, we have this massive ego when we're always posturing. And like, when we're in another group with other guys, we want to bullshit our revenue numbers. We want to bullshit our income. We want to drive a car that we know we can't fucking afford. Like, sorry, my language. But yeah, like, it's just own where you're at, because until you truly get crystal clear on where you are, and that requires a lot of truth, internal truth, it's impossible to figure out where you're going. It really is. Like, most people think the gap is here to here, right? But realistically, they're way over here because they've been posturing and they've been inflating with their ego, and like, they're not really there. And that's okay. That's what I want guys to know. Like, I'm not like trying to beat you up and say, haha, you think you're a 7 and you're a 4. No, just let's own all these insecurities, these weaknesses, this trauma we need to work through. Because if you don't own it by truth telling in here first, like, then we can't move you forward. And so like, one of the biggest obstacles I come across, because I only deal with men, is just teaching them this code of truth. And until they get truth down, it's really difficult to truly level up. So truth.
Not lying to yourself, right? Being honest to yourself, right? Even those like little saturations, like you did 10 push-ups, you say you did 15, right? Like, you're like, without knowing it, killing yourself, right?
Self-sabotaging
and causing guilt and shame. Yeah.
And it shows up everywhere. It'll show up everywhere in your life. Yep.
The third one, what strategy, tactic, or tool do you use to make sure that you have clarity in your life?
So I always start with the exit in mind on any task. Like, anything I do in life is like, what is my actual outcome that I'm seeking? And then I reverse engineer it from there. Because if I say like in 12 months, I want to be here, and it doesn't even have to be financial based, but it could be, I just moved to Nashville 6 weeks ago. Right. And so it's like in 12 months, I want my entire family out here. I want the property built or bought or whatever. Right. And then I have to decide, what does that look like? And I have to get really granular with that. How much is the house? What are the logistics between getting the family out here? What needs to happen 2 months prior in order to execute by month 12? And so I just start backing everything out. And so for me, clarity starts with like getting clear on what your actual target is first, rather than like getting clear on this cool path or process. Like that's nothing. So to me, it's setting this super clear objective and then reverse engineering, step by step by step. And then once you see that, it's almost like, man, this is extremely doable, So
Getting clear on the what, and then the how will appear, right?
Yeah, and the how is going to constantly change. You're going to course correct left and right, but getting clear on the what is crucial, and I mean real clear. Like, yeah.
Cool. So the fourth one is, what do you think is one of the most important habit that you have that has contributed to your success?
It's work ethic, hands down. Like I just actually had a conversation with a guy on my staff, and he was laughing at me because I'm 40 now and I'm anti-social media, or I was for so long. I'm trying to like lean into that, lean into the uncomfortable. And so I have a list here. You can't see it, but I have a whiteboard here with like 6 or 7 different things I'm learning, from like active campaign to type form to jot form to just a million things. Right. And it's hilarious because they're kind of laughing at me because I'm the old man right now in my circle, but I'll outwork anybody. Like I just, that's it, man. Like, if you put me in a room with somebody, show me the alpha. The way I've done every job when I was in corporate America was I'll enter as the FNG, the effing new guy, and I'll figure out who the alpha is, and I'll stand right next to him, check my ego, figure out why on earth this guy's outperforming everybody. He puts his pants on one leg at a time. And then I just literally outwork everybody in the room. It's always been like, I'm very prideful of that. And it's always done wonders for me. So to me, work ethic cannot be substituted.
Which ties back to like being having emotional mastery, right? Because if you don't have emotional mastery, you'll give in into your emotions and not be able to put in the work.
Yeah, 100%.
The last one, man. 30-second thoughts on tracking, measuring, KPIs, not in business, like in other areas of your life.
Oh, man. Be obsessed or be average, right? So like, I'm a big fan of the other concept of what gets measured gets improved. And if you have no idea, like if you don't know your numbers, I'm actually have a couple of calls coming up this week, and we're going to dive into some guys' businesses. And if they can't get through the first 4 minutes, I don't know what to tell them. And that's KPIs for business, but like tracking your macros. I mean, literally, like if you don't know, you don't know, or you don't know what you don't know. So realistically, if you aren't tracking KPIs in every area of your life, and as entrepreneurs, we love to gamify everything. And so for me, it's like, it becomes more attractive when I can gamify it, because we're just natural competitors as alpha males, et cetera. And so when you can gamify your fitness and gamify like even deposits into whatever you're doing with your wife and kids, I mean? Like how many date nights did you do this month? Did you take your daughter on a separate date night? Did you, so to me, attaching KPIs to every metric is extremely addicting. and I recommend it for everybody, because once you start tracking things, like it increases performance overnight. So track everything.
Once you track, you never go back.
There you go. I like it.
Man,
boom.
that's awesome, man. So like, like if I'm a married entrepreneur with kids, or I don't know, like someone who is willing to invest on himself, and right, and like needs help, right, and he's committed to becoming like this awesome driver, but needs help building an awesome car, and I want to know more about you and stuff. Like where could I know? Where could I get more of your content of you? Like where could I get in touch with you?
Yeah, so we're just kind of creeping into social. I've been just kind of the silent guy for a long time, and so reprogrameverything.com is probably the easiest way. I'm very hands-on. I'm being told I need to calm down on that if I ever want to scale, and I understand scale well, but I'm also addicted to my clients' results. Like funny story, it's called the program because I had about 6 different people and marketing people come up with different names. And I said, this is ridiculous. Like, I could give a shit what it's called. I just care about the results. So call it the program. Like, I don't care, you know? And so like, it wasn't about the name or the cute logo. It's really like, I'm just addicted to making sure you win and holding you fiercely accountable to everything you say you're going to do. So it's pretty easy to get a hold of me. Reprogrameverything.com. I mean, I'll drop my cell phone on here. I don't mind. I'm a hands-on guy. Like,
That's cool, man. We'll have the links and everything to your social media and to reprogrameverything.com. And yeah, man. So it's been great having you here, man. And thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Same, man. And your story is phenomenal. I appreciate that I don't want to keep harping on your age, but I absolutely love that there's someone that's 20 that is thinking like they're 40, you know what I mean? And has been through, maybe it's because you've been through some life experiences that some people will never go through. And that's kind of catapulted your ability to shift. But I couldn't be happier for what you're doing. Anybody that wants to talk to me about how awesome you are, if they're thinking about, you know what I mean, joining up with whatever you got going on the coaching side, like I will talk to them all, because you've been extremely impressive. And I appreciate you taking the time as well, brother.
Thank you, brother.
All right,
man. Thank you for watching the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms